More people than ever before are looking at how they can supplement their income through an online job or business. I'm gonna break down the 7 best ways to make money online, whether it's a couple $100 a month to a 7-figure business, all from the comfort of home. Hey everyone, I'm Bradford with the Penny Pinter's Guide to Personal Finance. Number one thing that I'm gonna talk about is a great way to just kind of dip your toe in the water when it comes to earning money online, and that's gonna be filling out surveys for money. So how you get started is just you go over to a website like Survey Junkie or Swagbucks, set up an account, and within a couple minutes, you're gonna be able to start earning money by filling out surveys. The whole premise of this is based on the more personal information you're willing to share, the more surveys that will be available to you, as well as the higher earning potential. But when you're looking on an average, you're gonna be around 10 minutes per survey with an average payout between 50 cents and $1 per survey. Although some opportunities will arise with a much greater payout, going all the way up to $50 for an individual survey in some circumstances. Now, when it comes to actually receiving that money, more likely than not, you're not gonna be getting some sort of check in the mail or direct deposit. It's gonna be in the form of e-gift cards, whether it's to Walmart or Amazon, although some cash equivalents like a prepaid Visa or MasterCard are also available. Let's break down the pros and the cons when it comes to filling out surveys online as a legitimate way to earn money. And the definite pro is that it's super easy. There's no equipment requirements. There's no special skill sets or expertise. You're basically able to just get started and go as soon as you decide you want to start filling out these surveys. But on the flip side of that is filling out these surveys is very time intensive. It doesn't pay very well, and there's no way to be able to scale your income to be able to earn more money as you get further invested in it. Now, I'm definitely not knocking the surveys. If you're just trying to make an extra couple $100 a month, this is a great way to be able to use some of your free time instead of just playing video games, but to actually make some money. Online earning opportunity number 2 is going to be becoming a virtual assistant. Now, this is instead of really just kind of being a side gig, this is more of a full-time job as a kind of entry position. Basically, you're going to be a variety of different job responsibilities all in one person. You're going to be some company's secretary. You're going to be answering phone calls, answering emails, setting up meetings. You'll be doing social media marketing. You'll be networking with clients, doing community outreach. Basically, anything that a company or business needs you to do, that's going to be your job responsibility. You're going to be looking at a starting range between $10 and $20 an hour, which is definitely nothing to scoff at. But a big difference here, as opposed to working for somebody in your local community, is that instead of being a W-2 employee with all the benefits that come along with it if you are working full-time, is you're most likely going to be a 1099 contractor. So you're getting paid, but you're not getting any sort of those benefits. And this does bring me over to the pros and cons. The pros is that you are able to basically set your hours however you want to work, and you're doing all of it from home. It's a great way to get integrated with a company, be able to do some sort of networking, and to be able to develop skill sets. And once they get to a certain point, you are able to market them and sell them on your own. On the con side is you are going to be a 1099 contractor. You are not going to be getting any sort of the benefits that come along with being full-time employed someplace else. Your earning potential is going to be relatively limited, potentially getting up into the $20, maybe even $30 an hour range, but you are eventually going to kind of peak out there and you're going to basically become too skilled for the position that you're filling and are going to be better off moving into one of the other online earning opportunities that I'm going to talk about later in this video. And that's going to bring me into earning opportunity number 3, which is once you kind of step up your game from that of a virtual assistant, and that's going to be getting into freelancing. Now, basically, freelancing is you have some sort of skill and expertise as well as experience that people are looking for. And so you're going to market it on a website like Fiverr, Upwork, freelance.com. You're going to develop your portfolio. Initially, you're probably going to have to start out with lower prices so that way you can develop a catalog of content as well as hopefully a series of 5-star reviews of other customers endorsing you. And over time, you're going to be able to raise your prices. Eventually, and what hopefully happens is you're able to develop a brand and a reputation behind you so you have more customers, then you're able to provide your time to be able to fulfill their needs. So you can eventually subcontract out some of the work to be able to serve a wider variety of customers. And it's all behind your brand and your reputation. And when you put your stamp on it, you're able to continually grow and upscale what your potential earnings are. Now that I've said all that, what sort of skill sets are desired for freelancers? Basically, if you can think of it, more likely than not, somebody's going to be willing to pay for it. Whether it's graphic design, are you doing video editing? Are you doing copywriting? Are you doing social media marketing? Are you doing some sort of course to help somebody build up their own business? Whatever sort of skill set that you have, more likely than not, somebody else is already offering it as a freelancer. And if they're able to develop a customer inflow and you're seeing that somebody else is already being successful, that's a good idea that that sort of skill set is desired by customers. And you can probably at least develop your own little niche of the market. And again, breaking into the pros and cons. On the pro side is basically there's almost unlimited earning potential as you're able to develop your brand, your reputation, eventually subcontract out some work to be able to serve more and more customers and further increase your revenues and your profits. In addition to that, similar to a virtual assistant, you're going to basically have completely flexible hours. Whatever sort of deadlines that you have to adhere to are ones that you set based on your own quality guidelines. Now, while those pros are great, you're going to have to overcome the pretty significant cons to be able to reach them in the first place. And now the cons are that you're most likely than not going to be entering into a very highly competitive field, which means that your initial earnings are going to be quite low because you're going to have to undercut your own price to be able to get people to choose you over somebody else that has maybe a slightly higher price, but also has an established reputation. If you don't have any reviews, it's very hard, and just kind of consider yourself as a customer that if you have the choice between choosing between somebody that already has 500 reviews and costs a little bit more, or choosing somebody that has no reviews and is just starting out, even if their product is priced less, what are you honestly going to be choosing there? Now, while freelancing can be quite lucrative, if you don't have a specific skill set that you're looking to sell, you might be more interested in opportunity number 4, and that's going to be with drop shipping. Now, I'm sure you've seen ad after ad after ad talking about how you too can make 6 figures a month with drop shipping if you follow my secret plan. I'm not here to blow smoke. I am here to tell you that if you do put in the hard work and you put in the research and you set up a good, solid business structure, it's entirely possible after a period of time to be able to start making an additional $1,000 to $2,000 a month by setting up some sort of drop shipping business. Now, so what is the premise of drop shipping? Is you go to a website like Shopify or Amazon and you become a middleman essentially, and you're able to take your cut of that. You find a product that's trending, a lot of people are wanting to buy it, you sell it on your shop, somebody comes to you and buys it, and then you source that product from someplace else where it's less expensive, you buy it, then you ship it to the customer that bought it from you, and you're able to pocket the difference. So while the business premise is relatively simple, let's talk about the pros and cons. Now, in the pros category is you're not going to be required to keep any inventory, which is a huge cost for most brick and mortar businesses, as well as there can be as little as $0 in an upfront cost for you to start your business. Basically, you can start, if you can identify a product that's hot and you're able to find a seller that you can buy it from and you become that middleman, you're going to be able to pocket all that profit. But the con side of this, which there are many, is that drop shipping, because it is such a generally simple business strategy to be able to implement, it is a very competitive field, which means there are going to be very low profit margins because all the various people that are trying to do drop shipping are going to undercut each other to try to get as many customers as possible to be able to get those economies of scale, and based on quantity of what they're selling, being able to make a absolute volume of profit larger than just based on having a higher profit margin and not necessarily selling to as many people. And the last con that I do want to tack on here is that it does have a very high time requirement initially, as well as to be able to maintain the business profitability, because you're going to be able to have to find the products that are going to be continually rotating in terms of what are the trending products that people do want to buy at any given moment in time, find a seller that's able to give you and be able to sell that product to you at a low enough price that you're able to make money on it, and then continually rotate through those different products inventories that you are being that middleman so you can continually to make money. It's not a set it and forget it unless you're able to develop an actual business where you have employees that do that for you and you're able to make your money as the management and basically skimming off the top after everybody else has been paid out. And now as we move into opportunities 5, 6, and 7, this is really where we're sort of transitioning away from a side gig or a side job and towards developing a business, which is going to require a lot more upfront work, research, and effort, but also has the potential for unlimited upside as you're able to scale your business over time. So opportunity number 5 is going to be becoming an author. Do you like to write? Do you have a creative mind? Do you like to write sort of how-to novels? Do you like to write fictions and fantasies? Whatever sort of thing, if you are interested in writing, there is a definite and significant ability to be able to earn money if you do it right. And you don't have to get picked up by a major publisher to be able to start earning money. With the introduction of Amazon KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, you can become a self-published author without the support of any sort of larger established business. Basically how it works, and you can even start with zero money up front, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend that as a business strategy. You can write your own book using Microsoft Word, have a couple friends proofread it, use some sort of graphic design theme that you already have to develop a cover. You can throw it up on Amazon KDP. You can have an ebook, you can have a paper book, as well as a hardbound copy that you can sell direct to the consumer. And it is all print on demand. So that means it's no money out of your pocket to be able to publish that book if you follow those steps I just mentioned. So as soon as a customer buys your book, Amazon prints it and sends it to them. They're going to take their cut to be able to cover the expenses of printing out that book. And then whatever money is left over is going to be profit for you. So what are the pros and the cons of being a self-published author? Pro one, as I did mention, is you do have the ability to start up at $0 out of pocket. Although I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, and we'll kind of step into that later, is putting the money up front to be able to set yourself up for success later is definitely worthwhile. But if you don't have the money to be able to spend on getting a good proofreader, a good copywriter, a good editor, getting a good graphic designer for the book cover, you are still able to start with no money out of pocket, which I think is a huge ability to be able to start earning money by not having to put any money up front and being able to eventually generate revenue from the business and reinvest it, not having to have a huge savings that you're pulling from to start the sort of business. Another pro I want to talk about that I think is pretty significant is that there are some authors that are able to generate 7 figures a month consistently. And no, they're not named Stephen King. It's actually a bunch of variety of different authors you've never even heard of because they have gotten into a rhythm and they've developed a full-on business where they publish book after book after book, and they have a system to have it edited along the way, get different covers designed, work on search engine optimization, and get it pushed out. So there's definitely a real ability to not just make a good living, but to make a great living and eventually become and build real wealth for yourself and your family through being a self-published author. And a huge part of that unlimited earning potential is that there is actually a huge network of other self-published authors out there that can help you navigate and figure out the best way to move forward and be successful in your specific niche, whatever that niche is. One Facebook group in particular that I'm a part of is called the 20 Books to 50K. And their whole premise is that if you're able to write and publish 20 different books, you should be able to develop a passive income of $50,000 a year based on continually selling those books year after year after year. And so, I mean, there's a bunch of different ones out there. That's just one that I'm personally a member of. But there's actually a huge community to be able to help you be successful as a self-published author. Being a self-published author is not all roses and rainbows. It definitely has a huge number of cons that go along with it. Probably the biggest one is there are thousands of authors every single year that publish their first book, second book, third book, and no one ever buys a single copy. And a good part of this is while you can start up, which I did mention as a pro, for $0 out of pocket, if you want to set yourself up for success in the future, you're going to have to put a good amount of money going into the cover design of a book. We all have the saying, don't judge a book by its cover. But the reason we say that is because we do judge books by their cover. If a book's cover is not appealing and you're not willing to click on it as you're scrolling through Amazon, or if you're at a bookstore, you're never going to pick that book up. And if you never pick the book up, you're never going to buy it. So being able to become attractive, whether it's through search engine optimization, being able to use Amazon ads, Facebook ads, Google AdSense, figuring out the myriad of different ways to be able to become a successful self-published author is a very steep learning curve to be able to overcome. And even once you do become successful, it's a continual process of learning and improving yourself. It's not something that, again, you can just set and forget. While there is the ability to develop passive income from it, at least in the initial part, for the first several years, maybe the first decade, it's definitely not going to be passive, and you are going to require a significant amount of time and money to be invested in it to be successful. Now, if you're not a big fan of writing, but you do still have a creative bone, then number 6, setting up an Etsy shop is probably going to be for you. Do you like to knit, woodwork, mess around with metallurgy? If you have some sort of creative knack that helps you actually create something, I can almost guarantee you that somebody out there is willing to buy it. Heck, from my personal experience, if I'm trying to find something as a creative gift that I'm not going to get off of Walmart or Amazon, I go to Etsy, particularly when it comes to getting something for my wife, when it comes to an anniversary or Valentine's Day or something like that. I almost know that somebody out there is making something creative that I never would have thought of, but would make a great gift. Now, before you do a deep dive into setting up an Etsy store, you are going to want to understand what is your actual cost per good and how much money are you making. If you're making a knickknack, how many hours does it take you to make that knickknack? And then what do you think you can realistically sell it for and get your profits? Do the time divided by how much money you're making, and that's going to give you a rough estimate of what are your hourly wages. And that's going to help you understand, hey, this is something that I do think could move forward and be profitable, or no, it takes me just way too much time and this is really just a hobby. And if it is a hobby, there's nothing wrong with that. But understanding whether or not something is going to be able to be scalable and be profitable is super important before you get started. So again, what are the pros and the cons when it comes to setting up an Etsy shop? On the pro side, Etsy is a huge marketplace and they have a huge number of customers that are constantly searching on there for something new or unique that they can buy and add to their collection or make a gift. And in addition to that, when you are creating a custom crafted piece, it's going to command a premium price because it is unique. It is different. It does take you time individually to make something that is unique, that is different from what you would go to buy at Pottery Barn or go buy at Michael's to create it on your own. Because you're taking your talents, your expertise, your experience to make something new and unique that somebody's going to want. Now, on the flip side of all that, whatever you're making, it might not be cost effective at all. Or even worse, you're making something that nobody wants. Something can be great and fun for you as a hobby, but if nobody else actually wants to buy it, it's never going to launch and become a great business idea. And in addition, you're going to be limited by the amount of time that you have to actually produce these products. And if you're making something that's more functional than kind of a unique showpiece, if you're making something that can be purchased at Walmart or Amazon, you are almost certainly not going to be able to compete with the large companies that are able to outsource their labor overseas in most instances. And number 7, for making money online, I have to talk about it, and that's going to be joining the creator economy. Whether that's on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, starting some sort of podcast. If you have something you like to talk about, whether it's educational or informative, and you're able to package it together in a format that people like to watch, you're going to stand the chance to be able to make a real and sizable income. Now, I'm not going to reinvent the wheel by trying to get my foot in the door with things like Think Media and vidIQ that you could reference instead if you're trying to get started in the creator economy. But understand that if you have a dedicated workflow, you have a solid business plan to be able to get started, and you're able to consistently produce content, it's going to take you time. It's definitely not a get-rich-quick scheme. And on average, it's probably going to take you a year before you can become monetized. But if you do stick with it, there's definitely the potential for a high amount of earning in the future. And I'm not just talking about like the ads that would show on some of your products or videos that you make. There's the ability to get in sort of affiliate links like on Amazon, being able to be sponsored by various products, particularly and hopefully something that is actually relevant to you and your audience that you can be able to get behind, and they pay you to talk about their product or review it or something like that. But there are a variety of different ways that you can make money in the creator economy if you put your mind to it and you put in the right amount of effort and research to be able to set yourself up for success down the road. Once you've decided which option of these 7 that I've talked about today works best for you, don't make the same mistakes that Chase and I did. So check out our video on how to start a business in 2022. And as always, we want to remind you that from your first penny to your first million, we're here to help.